I don't want to play anymore. It's what I hear every time I bring this deck out. Mirage over time has been slowly creeping up to tier 1. This set puts him on top with the new burst mode. This deck is fairly fast, and with the right setup you can have near close to unlimited swings. Bounce just about every card on the field back into your opponent's hand, and if that wasn't enough, punish them when they add cards to their hand by gaining memory. Let's jump into this crazy deck profile. For the eggs, Wanyamon is still the best choice since we are running a hefty amount of tamers. Being able to draw when you have a tamer will help get pieces quicker. Onto the level 3s, further helping you get pieces is Gaomon from BT11. Getting a tamer and a Gaogamon piece is good. Inherit Cannon will help with bouncing level 3s so long as you meet the requirements. I love this because memory blockers can stop your strategy. It also triggers effects of returning cards back to your hand, gaining memory. I just hate that cards get trashed from its on play. It serves no purpose for this deck to trash cards, well, as of now. The new BT13 Gaomon is perhaps the least one played. Its one attacking will, however, help you trigger your Mirage's effect if you do not have any way to bounce cards back to your opponent's hand. The Inherit is okay, it could be used to swing over 12k mons, but honestly, with all the bouncing this deck does, you will mainly just be attacking the player. Not to mention you have jamming, so DP buff doesn't matter as much. Still a target for Nikolai to give it jamming. On to Labramon 2 of. I still cannot find myself cutting this completely from the deck. The inheritable of gaining a memory with jamming can extend plays. The downside is it will not gain jamming itself from Nikolai, so be careful with that. Another card that is being used in this deck is Vmon BT11, allowing you to search a tamer. Personally, I don't like that you could miss searching pieces you need just to get a tamer. Last for the rookie lineup is the Gaomon from EX4. I love this card because if you have a Mirage and you need to trigger his effect to gain memory, playing this Gaomon will trigger your opponent to draw a card, therefore triggering Mirage and gaining memory. Helping you draw could result in you drawing the new burst mode if it is still your turn, burst evil and gaining even more memory, allowing you to continue attacking. The Inherit gaining a memory will add to the crazy amount of memory you will get. On the last note, I hate that all rookies are 1000 DP, so a good chance when they swing at security that your opponent will survive. And well, that sucks. That happens to me a lot. Moving on to the level 4s, 2 of the Lanamon from BT12. Here's where Labramon will also come in handy. Aside from using Lanamon to close out as hybrid, when digivolving you can place a level 3 as a source, gaining jamming. Placing Labramon under will now not only give it jamming, but you will gain a memory back when you attack. So basically digivolving for 1. Or you could place a Gaomon under it and bouncing a level 3 when you attack so long as you have a tamer. Sometimes I do brick and have plenty of tamers on the field, so being able to digivolve from a tamer to build up or swinging for game is beneficial. 4 of the BT13 Gaogamons, which is the first Gaogamon that lets you play Thomas from your hand for free. I think it would have been better if it was like Geogreymon that lets you play a tamer in general, so a blue tamer in this sense. Inherit is the same as Gaomon from BT13 with all turns gaining 1000 DP. I was running a BT11 Gaogamon at first, but I do prefer the consistency of being able to play Thomas when digivolving. The best champion to run as of yet is the EX4 Gaogamon, which I am playing 4 of, allowing you to bounce to level 3 when digivolving. It is much needed to keep those pesky floodgate cards away, especially because you're going to be gaining a lot of memory from effects. And the Inherit allows you to gain a memory when an opponent adds cards to their hand by effects. As for the level 5s, we are starting with 2 copies of the BT11 Mock Gaogamon. Can never go wrong with having blockers in your deck. What makes this card great is that it turns this Digimon into a blocker until the end of your opponent's turn. So if you evo into Mirage or even up to burst mode, they will be blockers. Also gaining 2000 DP for every 4 cards in your opponent's hand. This allows you to swing over big bodies. The shenanigans begins with the Inherit, allowing you to unsuspend all turns once per turn. Whenever an effect adds cards to your opponent's hand, bam, your Mon now gets unsuspended, allowing him to block again. 2 copies of the BT13 Mock Gaogamon. Late game, this card can be deadly. As long as your opponent has 8 or less cards in their hand, your attack cannot be redirected, meaning Magnamon, blockers, Black Wargreymon X can't stop you from attacking. After you attack, if you evo and add another card to your opponent's hand, the Inherit will trigger, allowing you to unsuspend just like BT11 Mock Gaogamon. And the best for last is this EX4 Mock Gaogamon, allowing you to bounce level 4s back to your opponent's hand. It's just simply amazing since blockers are usually level 4s. If you need a last swing, just digivolve to return the level 4 or the blocker back to your opponent's hand, and then you can now swing for game. There will be some cases in which your opponent will not have a body for you to bounce, and that is what makes this Mock Gaogamon superior. Per its Inherit, as long as your opponent has 8 or more cards, you are able to unsuspend when you attack, giving you 2 attacks per this effect. Now for the megas of this deck, of course, the BT11 MirageGaogamon. And I don't know if they can ever or will make a better Mirage than this one. It returns a level 5 or lower when you Digivolve. If there is no target, your opponent picks up the security card instead. And then this will trigger his all turns once per turn. When an opponent adds cards by effects, you gain 1 memory for every 4 in their hand. This is also so nasty for when your opponents trigger effects to draw cards. It could end their turn by doing just that. The new MirageGaogamon, having evade is a plus for sure. Bouncing a Tamer back to the hand is amazing, especially for the Shine matchup. I think this card would have been better if its all turns allowed you to play a blue Tamer instead of just a Thomas. Kind of just like the BT13 Gaogamon that we were talking about. It's handy if you don't have a Thomas. It also allows you to burst kind of that same turn when you do play it. Then you can burst, returning that Thomas back to your hand. And now you can go into that burst mode. I have seen some builds where they are running 5 megas instead of 6. So that is a choice. I just like the consistency of being able to have a level 6, because sometimes I'm still waiting for a mega and I don't get it, so I'm staying at 6. On to the star of the deck, MirageGaogamon Burst mode. This card is beautiful. I think this card is just as good, if not better, than MirageGaogamon Burst. Having the ability to bounce a Digimon is so good. When attacking, if your opponent has 9 or more cards, you will randomly choose cards from their hand and bottom deck them until they reach 8 cards. If you do this, Burst mode will unsuspend. It is not once per turn. The new Thomas allows you to continuously do this with Mirages when attacking. We will talk about how to pull it off when we get to the Tamers. Running it at 3 because I do want to see it often. 2 of is okay, but I found myself searching for it late game. They finally made a better removal than Kakaitis. Full Moon Meteor Impact will be a new staple for blue, I'm telling you guys now. Allowing you to return a Digimon back to the hand and gaining 1 memory for every 4 cards in your opponent's hand is busted late game. If you play this while you have a BT11 Mirage on the field, now you are gaining 2 memory for every 4 cards, triggering his effect as well. I wish I had more space for another one, but since this deck bounces so much on its own, too many are not needed. Of course, it feels good when they hit him in security. Other option cards that could be used are Sarai, which are used for the Shine matchup that helps strip and stun an opponent. Also blue memory boost for the memory and searching for a Digimon. As for Tamers, I'm running a split 3 on all 3. Nikolai giving one of your Gao and Gaogamon's jamming is amazing. Helps you swing and pop the one attacking effects of Digimon with no fear of having them get deleted, since all the rookies are 1k anyway. Giving them jamming, it doesn't matter. The new BT13 Thomas is a piece that Mirage was missing. When attacking by suspending Thomas, both players draw a card from their decks. This is huge, especially for burst mode. Here's the combo. You swing with burst mode first and then activate it when attacking. Once you unsuspend by leaving your opponent's hand back at 8, attack again and now trigger Thomas's effect, first putting your opponent back at 9, thus being able to use burst modes when attacking again, unsuspending, and now being able to swing for a 3rd time. Of course, the more Thomases you have in play, the more you can swing. And now for the OG Thomas. With so many effects now adding cards into your opponent's hand, they will most of the time have more than 8, thus being able to trigger Thomas effect to unsuspend a Gaogamon or a Gaomon. A nice combo is after using this Thomas's effect, use it to burst, gain memory, and when digivolving with Burst's effect, giving you memory to play Thomas back, and being able to trigger his effect again after you swing. There is so much hype around MirageGaogamon, rightfully so, that people are overlooking how powerful this deck is. There is another deck that is creeping back up close to tier 1, and that is my boy Jesmon. Jesmon GX is more playable than before, and that is my next video, so make sure you are subbed so you do not miss that one.